Tenebrous Tingles.
Welcome to Tenebrous Tingles. I'm Eve.
I'm Zandi, and I am back.
Yes, we are in Iowa today, but let's talk about why you abandoned us for so long.
I did something foolish, and I decided I was going to get on a horse when I didn't need to, and I did so in flip flops and cutoffs, and I did it. I have not been on horseback for a really long time, so I am really out of practice, and the horse was already cranky. And I got thrown off and landed poorly and have a slight compression fracture on my C4, but I am fine. I am healing. Everything is great, and I am back.
That's so minimized. She fractured her spine. You fractured your spine.
I'm fine. It was just a little tiny baby compression fracture. It's fine.
Oh
It
my
was
gosh.
no danger of paralysis or anything like that. I am totally fine.
Okay,
And
well, I'm glad you're fine. I'm glad you're back. I kept pestering you to get better,
yeah,
and I'm sure that's what helped you get better.
I'm sure, you and a few other people were very, very demanding about me healing, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah. None of this, oh, how are you feeling? What can I do for you? Just get better now.
Are you better yet? Oh my gosh.
I need you.
Could you stop being injured, please? Thank you.
I have shenanigans that are not as fun without you.
Exactly. We have recording to do, ma'am. I can't
There's
really
that
sit at my
too.
computer desk right now to do the editing and everything. No. You need to
All right,
get better.
so
So, what do you have for us?
I have the Van Meter Visitor and the Black Angel. What do you have?
I have the Edinburgh Manor and the Malvern Manor. So I have two hauntings, and you have what? Two cryptids,
Um,
or a haunting
well,
and a cryptid?
one is a cryptid, one's sort of a local legend.
Okay.
Okay, so the Van Meter Visitor. I chose first to look into the Van Meter Visitor because it was compared a lot to the Mothman stories from West Virginia. And you know that I have kind of a small obsession with that particular cryptid. I actually did go to West Virginia to a Mothman festival
Wow.
and went to see all of this. I had a great time.
Okay.
I did not get to meet Mothman, but I have like a thing for that particular story. And so the Van Meter Visitor was compared to it, and I was like, okay, so let's see what this is about. The sightings began in September of 1903 in a small, quiet town. It was Iowa, so, in 1903, I'm pretty sure that's most of Iowa. It was a small, quiet place. But so Van Meter was rural. It was mostly farmland and a few businesses with rail lines running through it. It was first seen by a local businessman as he was closing up for the night. He was shutting down a store and walking out to go home. It was reported in the newspaper as a large winged figure with a bright light on a horn on its head.
Wait, it had a shiny horn?
Yes, it's described by some as having a bright light. Others say it was a horn. Others say that the horn is the bright light.
Okay, I kind of love the idea of a luminescent horn on this
Yeah,
unicorn cryptid.
this is not my first unicorn cryptid,
It's
actually.
not. It's not. One of our very first episodes had a unicorn cryptid.
So witnesses mostly described a single creature, though there were some accounts that raised the possibility that it wasn't alone, that there were two. Since most of the accounts describe one, that's how I decided to discuss it here, just to avoid confusion. And Griffith, the man who saw this creature, he was obviously startled and immediately started firing his gun at it. That's a reaction. It's unclear if he hit it, and it did not seem like it because it didn't flinch or fall. It flew away, which I would probably also do if someone started shooting at me when I walked up to say hello. Over the next several nights, the sightings continued and they increased in frequency. The number of people making reports grew and were consistently describing fast flying creature with a large bat like body with leathery wings and the glowing horn on its head. It was seen on rooftops, near buildings, just kind of out flying around. Light from its horn was bright enough to draw attention even from a really large distance. Many people shot at it, and none of the shots seemed to have any effect on it. There were no injuries reported from this creature at any point. But it was scaring people, so, I guess I can appreciate some of the reaction. The town actually came together to organize armed watches that would go out through the night, and there were even search parties to try and find it. Sadly, this was all definitely for the purposes of inflicting harm rather than learning about this creature. Isolated sightings shifted into collective community effort, so that's an interesting facet of this. But it was a collective effort to do harm. The creature was never actually found. One of the watches did track it to an abandoned coal mine shaft on the outskirts of the town. It was followed and it was seen entering the mine, so it was assumed that, that's where it lived because it kind of disappeared there more than once. So more men were gathered at that spot and they would kind of wait it out. And when it did come out again, they again started shooting at this poor thing. And when it understandably retreated into the safety of the mine, they got closer and kept shooting down into the mine. I think you can probably already tell I don't love this response. Um, but I wasn't there, and I know that people were scared.
You weren't there in the
No,
1900s.
I was not there. Well, not in this particular part of the 1900s.
I have to reassess my thoughts of like your vampiric nature.
Yes, do that. So it was said that the creature retreating into the mine shaft at that point was the last sighting of it. There was a foul odor reported by some coming from inside, as well as some sounds of movement, but there was no other interaction with it from that point. And the foul smells, those were kind of reported as part of the sightings, but while it came up a few times, it wasn't the most consistent part of the sightings, so it was kind of known to not smell so great. There was an effort to recover physical evidence from the mine sometime later after they deemed it was safe, but nothing was ever found. Over time, the mine itself became unsafe and inaccessible because of natural collapse. It had already been abandoned by that point, that we're talking about, and it just continued to be abandoned and overgrowth. So it was hard to find and get to, and it just wasn't stable anymore. The Des Moines Daily News was the main place this unfolding story was documented. There were other publications that picked it up, and it was passed down in places like Weird, Iowa, which is a folklore collection, and other collections of folklore. So it was passed down as an Iowa story. We do know that multiple reports of a consistently described being were published in 1903 newspapers. We don't really know exactly what was seen, or if people had begun to influence each other to be extra jumpy at shadows and attribute it to the scary thing that, one person saw. Somebody definitely did see it at first. We don't really know how much influence there was afterward. There's a lot of possibility there on both sides and kind of in the spaces in between. The sightings were during a really short period of time. It was never reported as attacking or pursuing. In fact, it would flee if anyone became aggressive. No one was ever hurt. Whatever it was that was seen was never clearly identified. Now, with all of that, like we've seen in other places, the creature did become a mascot of sorts for the town. They have a festival there every year in late September, and it has all the normal festival stuff like food, games, music, and general family stuff, but they also have presentations from authors and historians and paranormal researchers to keep the Van Meter visitor as the center of the occasion. So even though he wasn't well received, it looks like he's well remembered and he still does bring the community together.
So, are we thinking hugging Molly and the bat unicorn? Are we shipping that?
No.
I think they'd be a cute couple.
I just hope that whatever this creature was, if it was a real creature, it got away and was able to live its life or their lives in a peaceful way without anybody shooting at it. Because again, if it's flying and that big, it probably could seriously hurt somebody, and it never made the choice to do so.
That's true.
All right, so let's hear about one of your manners.
Okay. They're not my manners. I require a manor. I want my own one, but not one of these. So,
Okay, I
us
would also like a manner if we're making requests, but again, not one of those.
not one of these.
I don't know what you picked, but I'm sure it's bad.
Yeah, I'm not one of these. So, we're going to talk about the Edinburgh Manor first. It was an asylum and a poor farm, like the last one of these I did. Um, but it didn't start as an asylum. It also began as a poor farm in the 1850s. And it's, again, where society sent people no one else wanted: the poor, the elderly, the disabled, and the mentally ill. Residents worked the land in exchange for survival, but many never left. Over 150 to 230 plus deaths are tied to the property. Some were buried in unmarked graves on site. Abuse, overcrowding, and neglect were common in facilities like this, and this one was no different. So we're going to start with the poor farm era. It was established in the 1850s. The function was a county poor farm for, again, the indigent, the impoverished, the people that no one else could take care of, or this was society's answer. The operations were that residents lived and worked on site in exchange for food and shelter. It ended around 1910. The original farm buildings were replaced by a new structure, the Edinburgh Manor building. Many residents continued to live there during the transition, and it became a mental institution as of 1910. So this the function at this point was it housed former poor farm residents. They didn't kick them out. They also took in mentally ill and others that society deemed unwanted. The active years as an asylum was 1910 to 2010, so 100 years. One of the notable things about it at this time is that after the closure in 2010, many belongings and rooms were left as is, and this added to the building's haunted reputation.
So they just left everything entirely set up the way that it was?
Yes, so this wasn't just a building, it was a place where people were forgotten, and to the point that they even just forgot the things that they left behind.
Oh, that's sad.
It is. And this is not the only asylum that closed in the 2000s and 2010s, and even the late 90s, that they just walked away and left even the patient files, which you would think would be a HIPAA violation, but I, that's what they did.
It's so interesting as someone going in to maybe look at that moment in history, like just an abandoned moment. But it's also, yeah, it's incredibly sad and violating in ways that definitely were violations in 2010.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, there are several websites out there where people have done like like urban explorers have gone into some of these places, and don't do that. It's illegal. It's dangerous. We're not suggesting that you do this. Some of them have
mhm.
had permission, and the pictures that have come out have been very interesting. Seeing old, not specifically this place, but seeing old like wheelchairs, beds, filing cabinets, just different things that have been left behind. So across the manor, people report activity of doors slamming on their own, footsteps when no one is there, disembodied voices, objects moving or being thrown, physical contact like touching, pulling, squeezing. One chilling EVP reportedly captured the words, "I grabbed you." So,
Mm.
yeah. So, of the hauntings, there is a child spirit who is alternately known as either Susie or Sarah. She is heard laughing, singing, and running down the halls. She will play with toys, sometimes even rolling balls back to visitors who roll balls towards, like, in empty hallways or into rooms. She'll roll them back to the visitors. And there's also the Shadow Man, who is alternatively known as the Joker. He is said to lurk in the basement, which is the darkest area.
Is
There,
he a happy Joker or
he is
scary?
he is not a happy entity.
Oh, okay.
So there are
That's
reports.
too happy of a name.
It is. So there are reports of people being grabbed or choked, intense anxiety or dread. He is known for aggressive and intelligent interactions.
Ooh, how intelligent.
We'll get into that. So there's also the woman in white. She is seen on the second floor stairwell. She appears briefly and then vanishes. She's possibly tied to a death in the facility, but again, there were probably over 200 deaths in the facility over the course of its time. So that's kind of, I mean, probably a given there. Then there is the janitor's closet death. A man allegedly ended himself in a small room. Visitors report a feeling of crushing dread, feeling panic or nausea, and seeing shadowy figures nearby. Some of the investigators and visitors have said that the second floor feels wrong instantly. The basement is described as oppressive and hard to stay in, and many leave early due to fear or feeling like they have been overwhelmed emotionally. And I couldn't find serious information about, like, why the Joker is called the Joker, why they say he gives this anxiety or dread, why he has done the things that he's done, or what kind of aggressive, intelligent interactions he's had, other than he does answer on EVP. I don't have a list of the EVP recordings for him. He is known to grab people and choke them, so I'm guessing that's why they are considering him aggressive and intelligent. It's kind of a dark place with a dark history and some unpleasant ghosts, other than Sarah or Susie. But there's really not a lot of in depth, detailed information on any direct interactions. Like, I couldn't find stories of different people giving what they experienced there. So that's what I have for the Edinburgh Manor. It's a little bit shorter, which is why I have two this time. But that's,
Cool.
yeah, it's an interesting one, even though I don't have a lot of details for it.
And super sad.
Yes.
But I have more sadness too. Um, Not entirely sad, but a lot of sad. So I'm doing the Black Angel of Iowa City. The Black Angel stands in Oakland Cemetery in Iowa City. It is a monument that marks the family burial plot of the Feldevert family. I genuinely hope I am saying that properly. If I am not, no offense is meant. I'm sorry. I think I'm right though. It is a large bronze angel. It's really quite beautiful. You can look it up. There's a lot of pictures. And it was installed in 1912. Teresa Feldevert commissioned it to stand over the grave of her husband and then her son, and then eventually she joined them underneath the angel. The bronze material was chosen for durability. She wanted it to last, and it has, though the appearance has changed with time. The bronze surface darkened into the deep, nearly black color that it is now known for. This change was just the natural oxidation of that metal when it was exposed to air and weather over long periods of time. So, there's a very known explanation for that change. But even though there's that explanation, and I think they knew that then too, the statue's appearance changing, it started some stories. As you would expect in a situation like this, there are a lot of different versions that have developed and they've been passed down over time. Some stories claimed that the family was cursed, even after death, and that had caused the darkening. Other stories said that the color change was a sign of Teresa Feldevert's wrongdoing or guilt. Still, other versions said that the darkening color was the angel absorbing grief.
Oh.
That one,
Wow.
while that's kind of sad, that one kind of spoke to me a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, there is no evidence for these claims. While a curse or grief absorption would be difficult to historically document, there is no documentation confirming that Teresa did anything wrong, or at least wrong enough to be the cause of extended supernatural activity. But who am I to say what level of wrongdoing needs to be going on for that? No one asks me those things, and it's probably best that they don't. Warnings became part of the folklore. It was said that touching or kissing the statue could bring bad luck or death. And pregnant women, especially, were said to be harmed by going near or touching the statue. Many visitors have shared that they have a strong emotional reaction to being near the angel. They describe feeling pulled to stop and look at it, to look up, as well as sadness or heaviness when they're in that general area of the cemetery. And again, to be fair, it is a cemetery, so heaviness is a natural feeling, maybe. But it is also said that the feeling is stronger the closer to the statue you are by those who have shared personal experiences. There is a feeling of being watched or that somebody is nearby. Many have said they felt like somebody was right behind them. So basically, it is uncomfortable to be there, and they felt the need to leave quickly without any solid reason. Photography of the statue has been affected. Apparently, when I was looking at the experiences, the statue was described as looking much darker than expected in some photos, like the exposure's off, or the shadows look strange, or they show up in unexpected ways. So I looked up what I could find, and looking through some of those pictures that I could see, there are some eerie ones. Like, they're not wrong to look at that picture and go, this is odd. So I can see what they mean just in what I found online. It could be explained, though, as lighting or weather or camera settings. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can do there. But also, if you're just taking a random picture and all the other pictures look one way and this picture looks different, it's possible that it's a little more eerie than just, lighting. Something else that is a bit subtle but definitely repeated is that unexpected hesitation keeps some visitors from touching the statue, even if they intended to, even if that's why they went. Like, I haven't been there, but on the surface, that does seem like more cultural influence from the stories and maybe cemeteries in general for most people than something supernatural. But again, I cannot speak to personal experience, and the people there, they know what they felt, and so definitely not going to negate somebody else's experience. I would like to focus on the family for a moment because finding information about them was a lot more difficult than finding information about the statue itself, and I thought that that was kind of sad. Teresa was an immigrant. She was most likely from Eastern Europe. So she has studied medicine before she came over, but she was not able to practice here. So, she was very intelligent. She had this knowledge. I could not distinguish if she moved here with her family or if she got married once she got here because those records are not digitized. Her husband died of natural causes, and in her grief, she put up this beautiful angel to watch over him. The part that really got me was that before the statue was installed, because it's this large undertaking, it took a minute. Her 8-year-old son joined his father in the grave before the angel was
Oh,
placed there.
I'm sorry. That's awful.
Yeah, I cannot imagine. So behind the amusement that we're finding at, this somewhat spooky story, I also think it's important to remember that there was a real bereaved person behind it. The experiences are subjective. I think the part that anyone can agree on, skeptic or not, is that the statue causes a reaction. It differs from person to person, but has been enough to become a local legend. People still visit, they still whisper about it, they still tell stories. And the next time that I am in Iowa, I plan to visit with flowers. I don't plan to really do anything else. I don't know if I'll be touching, just in case. So that's what I have about the Black Angel. Do you have another mind scarring manor for us?
I do. I have the Malvern Manor. So, the Malvern Manor was also a mental institution slash asylum. It was built in the early 1900s.
You were
So,
in a mood when you did your
I
research.
I was.
You have the whole vibe.
It does. This one was not a poor farm first.
Okay, all right.
So the purpose, it housed the mentally ill patients, many of whom were subjected to harsh treatments and isolation at this place. It had a reputation and it was known for abusive conditions and a high rate of patient deaths, leaving a dark history that fuels the paranormal reports. I don't know exactly how many of them died, and I don't know what the harsh treatments were. It was pretty vague about that sort of thing, which may mean that this is more speculation than actual evidence based. But it could also mean that the documentation was, let's say, lost as time went on, because that does happen. And things are sanitized for consumption later on, but it did have this reputation. It was eventually closed, leaving the building abandoned, and it also was abandoned with some things inside. Not as many as the Edinburgh Manor. It wasn't quite that just left one day and never came back sort of vibe.
There is something so eerie about that, about someone who just picked up and walked out and never returned, and it's just frozen in time.
Yeah, agreed. So the timeline of the Malvern Manor was that it was built in Malvern, Iowa in the early 1900s, somewhere between 1900 and 1910. The construction and original use was indeed as an asylum, so it wasn't built for anything else prior to that and then repurposed.
Okay.
It was meant to house patients who were considered especially difficult, who had been abandoned, or were in need of special care. The early operations included strict, sometimes abusive conditions, common in asylums at the time. The peak operation time was between the 1910s and the 1950s. The population grows steadily through that time frame until the facility actually became overcrowded, at which point the harsh treatment and the isolation are routine. Many patients do die on site. Some are unrecorded, contributing to the manor's residual energy. Stories of aggressive entities begin to emerge, particularly in the basement and the patient rooms. There are even legends among the staff in the 1950s. So this goes all the way back. From the 1960s to the 1980s, standards of mental health care begin to improve and change nationwide. The Malvern Manor experiences reduced staffing and patient care, increasing for fewer patients in Malvern Manor, which means that there was fewer staff, closed wings, that sort of thing, and thus an increase in reports of shadow figures, poltergeist activity, aggressive interactions with visitors or staff, even some paranormal investigations, and they
This was
noted
before they left, like while they were still in operation.
this is before they closed. Yes, while they.
Okay.
So, some of the paranormal investigations that happened during this time note repeated phenomena suggesting residual hauntings. So, things that would happen over and over again, like a movie, like a flickering image that it does the same thing over and over again. Not really intelligent hauntings at this time. From the 1990s to the 2010s is when it went through its like complete decline and closure. The facility continues to operate between the 1990s and 2010, but it's largely abandoned in many of the wings. Paranormal activity intensifies. Basement guardian attacks become common. There are whispers, growls, and objects moving, and shadow figures are regularly sighted. Malvern Manor officially closed in 2010. The building was left largely untouched, so it kind of amplifies the feeling of trapped spirits and creating the modern reputation as one of Iowa's most haunted locations. Again, because it was abandoned and wings closed down. It doesn't have the same just walked away vibe that Edinburgh Manor has, but it
Mm-hmm.
was just abandoned and closed. It was left largely untouched after the fact. So in 2010, once it closed, it was considered something of a haunted landmark, and that is until now. Post closure, there have been investigators and thrill seekers who have entered, some legally, some illegally. They report an extreme level of paranormal activity. So, some of the notable phenomena are physical attacks, pushing, scratching, grabbing, biting, and clawing. Shadow figures are seen in the hallways. There are whisperings and growls, as previously mentioned. There are residual echoes of past patient trauma, so screams, cries for help, that sort of thing. The manor is now legendary in Iowa paranormal circles. It's often compared to Edinburgh Manor for its intensity, but the hauntings are much more aggressive.
Has
So,
anyone been hurt?
yes,
It sounds like, yeah.
yeah, they happen. So, some of the reported paranormal activity at Malvern Manor is an aggressive entity. Visitors and paranormal investigators describe being pushed, grabbed, scratched, or bitten. It feels intelligent and it reacts to people in the building. It's often located in the hallways and the patient rooms. They think it's the same entity that does this every time, but that's unclear since it is happening both in hallways and patient rooms. So there could be
So you're
several.
just being followed by this entity?
It doesn't say that it follows anyone. I think it comes upon them where they are if they are in these areas. So I don't know whether it's just one or if there are several entities that react in similar ways in this aggressive, violent manner. There is a shadow figure or shadow figures that appear in corners or at the end of hallways. These are observed sometimes following visitors. They are most active in the basement and the upper floors. And then, of course, there's some auditory phenomena. So there's loud, unexplained bangs, there's screams, there's pleading for help, there's the growls, the whispers, the kissing.
My.
Yeah, it's a lot. Some of the EVPs that have been recorded have phrases like "get out," "you shouldn't be here," "help me," "I'm sorry." But most of them are of the aggressive get out variety. So there have also been physical sensations. Investigators report cold spots, nausea, feelings of dread. Many describe the air as thick and oppressive, especially when they go down to the basement. It's almost like this darkness, this sense of oppressive. I don't want to use the term evil. Let's say oppressive darkness. It pools in the basement.
Okay.
And this seems to happen in some of the other places that we've got where the darker entities are the lowest they
Look
can get.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are also residual hauntings. Some rooms have repeated phenomena like doors opening, lights flickering, or objects moving, thought to be echoes of past patients replaying in the energy of the building. So some of the haunting aspects are, like I said, the shadow figures. They are described as tall, dark, humanoid shapes without distinct features. They are silent but appear to follow visitors or linger at the end of hallways. They stay out of reach. They are most commonly seen in the hallways, the patient rooms, and sometimes stairwells. There is the aggressive entity known as the basement guardian, which again, it could be several entities, but it may just be one. He is considered to be highly intelligent. He is a reactive spirit. He pushes, grabs, scratches, bites, shoves, all of that to
You
different
called him
visitors.
a guardian spirit. What is it that
He
he's guarding?
he's guarding the basement, so he doesn't like people down there.
Just the basement. Okay.
Yeah, he doesn't like people going into the basement or the lower floors of the building at all. The darkest lower areas of the building. So he reacts to movement, speech, and investigation. He does not like to be challenged. That is when you will get attacked most commonly.
I mean, to be fair, you did walk into his house
You did.
and just
You did.
start making demands. That's rude.
Yeah, it is.
He just wants you to mind your manners.
He doesn't want you there at all, but he's more likely to be aggressive as opposed to just growling at you or pushing you if you are challenging him. Sometimes he just decides he doesn't like people specifically, even if they don't challenge him and he's aggressive, but I, I don't, he hasn't told me why. I haven't
Yeah, is there
asked.
a pattern that you've noticed? Like it's white guys named Todd that he specifically dislikes, or I mean, is there any kind of pattern?
I have not found any evidence of any kind of pattern. Maybe he just doesn't like their vibe.
Bummer.
Yeah.
It's based all on vibes.
I have no idea, but he does not like being challenged. That I know.
Okay, so no challenging vibes.
Do not challenge the guardian. He is not there for that. So there's poltergeist activity. So physical manifestations with no visible form, such as doors slamming, loud bangs or knocks, objects moving or being thrown, sometimes at people.
Oh my.
Yep. So this is not like the little girl from Edinburgh Manor who will roll the ball back at you. This is a whole dodgeball scenario.
Okay, now it's funny because you called it dodgeball.
I did.
That's a whole mental imagery
It
for
is,
me.
yeah. But I mean, when it's poltergeist activity, it kind of gives me that vibe.
Okay, no dodgeballs in our haunting plans.
No. So the poltergeist activity happens throughout the manor, particularly in patient rooms and the main hallways, so the big thoroughfares. There's a whispering or vocal entity. It's an unseen presence like the poltergeist activity, and it communicates via sound. So there are growls, whispers, commands such as get out. Again, the basement guardian also growls and hisses, but this is just the growls and the whispers and the commands of get out. It occasionally will also repeat the investigators' names.
Oh.
It's most often in long hallways and sometimes near the basement, but not in the basement. So different.
Okay, so he does not care what your name is once you reach the basement.
That is not his territory. that that area belongs to someone else. So there are also like an echo residual haunting situations that go on. So again, there's screams, there's footsteps, there's moans. These are usually not interactive. It's almost like if you were just walking through a building and you hear somebody else talking in the background. They're not talking to you. They're just having their conversation and you just happen to overhear them. So these aren't interactive. These happen in the former patient rooms and in the attic mostly. And that is the Malvern Manor.
Wow.
Yeah, so super great fun place to visit, it sounds like.
Yeah, don't take travel tips from Zandi.
Yeah, now you see why I said that not these manners at the beginning of
Not
the
those
episode.
manners.
Not these manners. These are not the manners that I would like to have.
So there is a place that I've been in Iowa that I thought was really cool. I mean, it's not really folkloric at all, but there's a place called the Corn Palace.
You told us about that in what, Idaho?
I don't know. It's in Iowa.
I know, but I remember you telling us about it. Maybe it was
I've mentioned
Illinois?
it.
I feel like it was the one that
No,
Jack was there.
I don't know. Probably. Like, I enjoy these off the beaten path, odd tourist situations,
Yes.
but it has these murals built out of corn husks. I thought it was really interesting.
Oh,
So,
they're corn husks for some
just
reason.
as an aside,
I thought it was like different colors of maize, like the different
both.
dried.
They've
Oh,
got all the things. All the things.
oh, cool.
Yeah, so lots of structures made out of corn stalks, husks, silks. You can buy popcorn. Dun dun dun.
Ah, wow. I'd be
But
disappointed if you couldn't.
it
Also,
was just a super happy place to visit, so
okay,
I would recommend it. Not the manners.
not
If
the
you want to
manners.
visit somewhere, since we were giving travel advice, I thought I'd give happier Iowa travel advice.
And that is if Iowa is in fact a real place.
Ooh, okay, we're doing that.
I don't. I don't know. We did
It was
talk about that.
Idaho that was maybe not real.
Oh, was it? I thought it was both. Maybe it was just I. Okay, well,
We can say it's both. We can say whatever we
we
want.
can. We can. I don't know. I've been there, but I'm not sure it was a real place even when I was there.
Nice. So next we have Kansas. You know what you're doing in Kansas?
No,
Me neither. Me neither at all.
but I do feel like one of us will be saying we're not in Kansas anymore at the end.
Okay, well now we will. It hadn't occurred to me. So I guess we'll leave that to you. So that is it for
That
this
is it.
episode of Tenebrous Tingles. Thank you for joining us to learn a little bit about Iowa and their folklore and just to laugh and wonder along with us.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, we're going to be doing, well, like Eve said, we're going to be doing Kansas next. So if you have anything that you want to see for Kansas or Kentucky or any of the other following states, let us know. We can be reached at tenebrous.tingles@gmail.com. And we would love to hear from you.
Yes, we really do. When I get emails there, I'm so happy. And I've loved the suggestions that have come from listeners. So I really appreciate those.
Yeah, they're great.
And I love getting the emails, even if they're just to say, we like you. We like you too.
We do. We
so,
do.
so thank you. And until next time, we will see you later.